Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we plunge right into those fascinating, sometimes mysterious corners of knowledge.
That's right.
And today, wow, we are pulling a creature right out of the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
A creature that hasn't just sparked, ancient legends for centuries, but it also went completely viral online recently.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Igniting all these fresh whispers about prophecies and even impending doom. We are talking, of course, about the Doomsday Fish.
It's quite a name, isn't it? Really grabs your attention.
It does.
But behind that very dramatic label is a truly remarkable animal, the oarfish. Scientifically, it's Regalicus glesni.
Regalicus glesni. Okay.
Though you might also hear it called the ribbon fish, or, and this is my personal favorite, the king of herrings.
King of herrings. I love that. It sort of captures the grandeur, but also how elusive it is.
Exactly.
So our mission today for you listening is to kind of slice through all those myths, the social media buzz, the ancient stories.
Not through the noise.
We're going deep into the real science behind this, let's face it, pretty enigmatic creature. We want to figure out what the oarfish truly is, understand why it's been linked with disaster for so long, and maybe most importantly, what its rare appearances actually tell us about our planet.
And to do that, we've gathered quite a stack of sources for this deep dive.
Yeah. What kind of stuff?
Well, everything from detailed scientific papers, cultural research looking into the folklore, those recent viral videos you mentioned, and even some fascinating historical accounts.
So a real mix.
Yeah, it should give you a really comprehensive picture, hopefully a well-rounded and, surprisingly insightful view.
Okay, great. So let's unpack this creature. When you hear Doomsday Fish, or even just oarfish, your mind probably jumps to something, I don't know, scary.
Probably, yeah.
But what is it really? Can you describe it? Because its look is just, it's unlike anything most people have ever pictured.
It's absolutely unique. Okay, so picture this. A really, really long body, almost like a ribbon, shimmering with these shiny silver scales. But the thing that really makes it stand out, it's this amazing red or pink crest.
The crest?
Yeah, like a crown almost. Made of these long dorsal fin rays that run all along its head and down its back. It just looks otherworldly.
Wow.
And for something living so deep, it has these surprisingly large eyes, which makes sense, right? For gathering faint light down there.
Right.
But then its mouth is remarkably small and no visible teeth.
Huh. So not what you'd expect from a monster. It sounds like something out of a fantasy story.
It really does.
But beyond just how striking it looks, the sheer size of the oarfish is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one of the most fascinating things, just how massive it can get. Now, a lot of the ones found are smaller, but
Which a record is.
it holds a record, yeah. World's longest bony fish. It can reach up to 11 meters.
11 meters? That's
36 feet.
36 feet long. Wow.
Yeah, try to picture that. Like longer than a school bus, but all in one continuous sort of undulating form.
That's incredible. And where does something like that live?
Its habitat is just as interesting.
Yeah.
Deep oceans. We're talking typically between 200 and 1,000 meters down.
So deep.
Very deep.
Yeah.
Below the sunlight zone. And you find them pretty much worldwide in temperate and tropical waters. They're truly global deep-sea residents.
Okay, so a massive creature living way down in the crushing darkness. What do we actually know about its life, its habits? Because it sounds so hard to study.
Yeah, very little is known about its day-to-day behavior precisely because it lives so deep. It's just hard to observe.
Right.
But what we have seen is pretty unique. It doesn't swim like most fish, side to side with its tail.
How does it move then?
It undulates its dorsal fin, that long crest, like a wave running down its body. It's called ammoform swimming, and it's incredibly graceful to watch, actually, almost hypnotic.
I mean, what does it eat down there with that small mouth?
Mainly smaller stuff, zooplankton, krill, maybe some small fish and squid, nothing very large. And look, despite that scary Doomsday Fish name, I really have to stress this. It is completely harmless to humans.
Completely harmless.
Totally. In fact, the opposite is true.
Right.
It's extremely fragile. Once it comes up to the surface, it can't survive long in shallow water or captivity.
Why is that? The pressure difference.
Exactly. Its whole physiology is adapted to the immense pressure of the deep. Our surface world is fatal to it.
That's a really crucial point, that fragility. So, okay, we have this huge, beautiful, completely harmless deep-sea fish, which makes you wonder, where on earth did that Doomsday Fish nickname come from?
Right. It seems so mismatched.
Yeah. This is where the folklore really kicks in, isn't it?
Precisely. That nickname, Doomsday Fish, stems mainly from ancient Japanese folklore.
Ah, Japan. Okay.
Yeah. In Japan, the oarfish is known as Ryugu no Tsukai.
What does that mean?
It translates to messenger from the sea god's palace.
Wow. Okay.
And it's deeply tied into beliefs about underwater seismic activity. The traditional belief is that seeing one is a warning, a harbinger of earthquakes and tsunamis.
A messenger predicting disaster. And it's not just Japan where people thought this, is it? I feel like I've heard similar things from other places in Asia.
You're right. In parts of China and Taiwan, too, seeing an oarfish is traditionally taken as a bad omen.
Interesting.
The underlying idea across these different cultures is remarkably similar. It's this belief that deep-sea creatures, like the oarfish, somehow sense disturbances on the ocean floor before a big seismic event.
And they flee upwards.
Yeah. Or they're driven to the surface by pressure changes or something else we don't understand. It's a very compelling story, isn't it? Connecting the mysterious depths to human fate.
It really is compelling. And, well, that's where we need to bring in the science, right? Because folklore is powerful, it has deep cultural roots, but
it's not the same as confirmed scientific fact.
Exactly.
So the big question, is there any scientific backing for this link between oarfish showing up and earthquakes happening?
And the answer, pretty definitively, is no. There is no confirmed scientific link.
None at all. No confirmed link. Now, scientists have tossed around a couple of hypotheses, and these are just theories, remember, not proven facts.
Okay, like what?
Well, one idea, maybe less common now, is that oarfish might be sensitive to electromagnetic changes or maybe subtle pressure shifts from tectonic movement, and that could theoretically drive them towards the surface.
Plausible, maybe.
Maybe. But another theory, which is generally more accepted, is much simpler.
Which is?
That the oarfish we see at the surface are usually just the ones that are already sick, injured, or dying. And they basically just drift up into shallower waters or get carried by currents. And that's where they get spotted or wash ashore.
So it's not a prediction, it's the end of the line for that particular fish.
Essentially, yes. That seems the most likely explanation for most sightings.
That makes me think of that Japanese study from 2019. They actually looked into this specific connection, didn't they?
They did. And their conclusion was really interesting. They called the perceived link an illusory correlation.
The illusory correlation. What does that mean exactly?
It's a really important concept, actually, and it applies way beyond oarfish. It means when you have two events that are both pretty rare and maybe dramatic.
Like finding a giant sea serpent and then having an earthquake?
Exactly. Two rare, memorable things. If they happen close together in time, our brains are kind of wired to connect them. We automatically look for a cause and effect pattern.
Even if there isn't one.
Even if there's no actual causal relationship at all, it's just coincidence. But because both events are so striking, the perceived link feels real.
That's a great reminder to, think critically, to look for actual evidence, not just jump to conclusions because two weird things happen near each other.
Absolutely. Question the narrative, even the really compelling ones.
Still, it's easy to see how the folklore persists, especially when you hear about some of those historical sightings that seem to, line up with disasters. I remember the reports around 2011.
Yeah, the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan. There were reports that several oarfish had been seen in Japanese waters beforehand.
Right. See, that feeds right into the myth.
It's a perfect, though tragic, example of that illusory correlation potential. And then again, 2017 in the Philippines. An oarfish washed up not long before a magnitude 6.7 earthquake hit nearby.
And you can bet that got people talking locally.
Oh, absolutely. It reignited all the local folklore. And even just recently, like in 2024, 2025, you see these viral videos pop up online.
Fishermen catching them?
Yeah, fishermen encountering them, sometimes capturing them. And immediately you see the comment section light up with Doomsday Fish, rumors and superstitions. These beliefs are really deeply ingrained.
For such a long time, though, this creature was basically just legend, stories passed down. But then technology gave us a peek, didn't it? When did we actually start seeing live oarfish?
That's where things get really interesting, seeing how our understanding evolved. The very first video of a live oarfish, believe it or not, only emerged in 2001.
2001, that recent.
Yeah. It came from a U.S. Navy buoy inspection, completely by chance.
What did it show?
It was groundbreaking. It confirmed that unique swimming style we talked about, undulating that long dorsal fin, moving like a vertical ribbon. It wasn't just speculation anymore.
Wow.
Then, between about 2008 and 2011, ROVs, remotely operated vehicles down in the Gulf of Mexico, managed to film them several times.
Deeper down.
Yeah, swimming in midwater, sometimes as deep as 1,600 feet. That footage really showed their smooth, wave-like movement in their natural deep-sea home.
And I remember National Geographic had some footage around 2014, too. That seemed to really capture people's imagination, seeing them move.
It absolutely did. They filmed 2 oarfish near beaches in Baja, California, just gracefully undulating.
Yeah.
It solidified that kind of sea air serpent aura, but made it real.
Seeing is believing, I guess.
It transforms them from myth into something tangible, even if it's still incredibly rare and mysterious.
And speaking of recent stuff, you mentioned that incident in Mexico, February 2025. That sounds wild.
It was a very rare scene. A small oarfish actually surfaced in shallow waters in Baja California Sur.
And people saw it.
Yeah, locals and tourists were right there, and they actually incredibly guided it back towards deeper water.
Wow, they tried to save it.
They did. But what's really notable is how immediately that event sparked doomsday gossip online. Especially because around the same time, I think an anglerfish was also sighted nearby.
Ah, so double the weird fish from the deep sighting.
Exactly. And you see how, even with video evidence of what's happening, those ancient beliefs just persist. They bubble right back up.
So, putting aside the doomsday gossip, what do scientists actually learn from these rare appearances? When an oarfish does surface, what does it really tell us, scientifically speaking?
Well, definitely not prophecy.
Right.
The scientific interpretation is pretty consistent. These beachings, these appearances in shallow water, they usually happen because the fish is in distress.
Injured, sick.
Injured, sick, or dying, yeah. Often, it seems related to the stress of ascending from the deep, those massive pressure changes. Their bodies just aren't built for our surface environment.
So it's a sign of weakness, not a sign of impending doom.
Exactly. And even with those amazing videos we now have, scientists, well, they still puzzle over the exact trigger in every case. Why this fish surfaced now?
Still some mystery there.
Definitely. Hypotheses include, like we said, maybe sensitivity to subtle changes in ocean conditions, maybe getting caught in unusual currents that pull them upwards, or simply disorientation for some reason. The full picture isn't quite clear yet.
It really highlights how little we still know about the deep ocean, doesn't it?
It does. And it's a stark reminder, too, that this life adapted to extreme pressure is incredibly delicate when removed from that specific environment. Its inability to survive up here really underscores how unique and specialized those deep-sea ecosystems are.
That is the beauty of it, though. Even with satellites and ROVs, the deep sea is still full of secrets. So, okay, beyond the myths, what's the oarfish's real importance? Why does it matter to science?
It's actually incredibly valuable from a scientific standpoint.
How so?
Well, deep-sea researchers study oarfish to better understand those mesopelagic ecosystems, the twilight zone.
Right, that middle layer of the ocean.
Exactly. These are vast, largely unexplored areas. Oarfish give us crucial clues about how life adapts to extreme pressure, near total darkness.
How they survive down there.
Yeah, and it helps scientists learn more about things like bioluminescence, other deep-sea adaptations, maybe even vertical migration patterns, all vital pieces for understanding these critical hidden parts of our planet.
Okay, that makes sense. And just for us, fascinated non-scientists, it definitely has some memorable trivia points, right? Some fun, weird facts.
Oh, for sure. Gotta have the fun facts.
Play 'em honest.
Okay, first off, remember.
Yeah.
World's longest bony fish. That's a big one.
Got it. Longest bony fish.
Also, it's widely credited with inspiring sea serpent legends across many cultures globally, not just in Japan. Its appearance just screams sea monster to the human imagination.
Yeah, you can see why.
And despite all the scary nicknames, remember, totally harmless to humans.
Harmless giant. Okay.
And maybe the most poignant one, just how incredibly fragile it is. It can't survive long up here.
Yep.
That fragility is key to understanding why seeing one alive is such a rare and often fleeting event.
Fragile giant. And it's popped up in popular culture too, hasn't it? Which probably helps cement its weird place in our minds.
It definitely has. It's been featured in big nature documentaries like BBC's Blue Planet. Its sheer strangeness makes for amazing television.
Can imagine.
And like we said, it goes viral on social media all the time. People just can't get enough of its bizarre, almost alien look.
True.
Plus, in Japan, where so much of the folklore started, it's still popular in things like anime, video games, even traditional art. It's shown as this mythical, powerful creature. So it really lives this dual life, scientific specimen and cultural icon.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive on the so-called Doomsday Fish. Let's just quickly recap the core points for everyone listening. Belief versus science.
Okay, so the ancient belief, harbinger of earthquakes and tsunamis.
And the science. So far, no conclusive evidence, no real link found.
Right. The belief was it was a dangerous omen tied to catastrophe.
But the science says, nope, completely harmless to people.
Belief, a rare, mystical, almost supernatural fish.
Science. Well, yes, on the rare and mysterious part. It is rare, it is mysterious, and it's definitely captivating.
Agreed. Absolutely fascinating, even without needing the doomsday stuff.
Exactly. It doesn't need the myth to be amazing.
That's the real power of it, I think.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I guess it shows that even in our world, which feels so connected, so mapped out,
There are still vast mysteries out there.
especially in the deep ocean, it really is the last frontier in many ways. And the oarfish, it's just a perfect example of how ancient stories, folklore, can get tangled up with scientific discovery.
Really is.
And it reminds us, doesn't it, to always question things, maybe seek a deeper understanding, and try to separate those really compelling narratives from the hard facts.
Yeah, it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A question for you, our listener. The next time you see some strange creature making headlines, or maybe just an unusual event in nature, what's your first instinct? Do you think of the old stories, the folklore?
Or do you find yourself wanting to dive deeper, looking for the scientific explanation behind it?
Yeah, and maybe think about what other deep-sea creatures are down there still unseen that might inspire entirely new legends in the future as we explore more.
Because the ocean, well, it's definitely still full of surprises.